everything can become a ritual, even when you're working out in the gym, right? And you can do it in a somatic way. I think this is so interesting. If you combine emotional work with daily tasks, sometimes just looking at the way I walk, I'm like, how do my feet touch the floor? All the daily things to make them a ritual. And this is also something that Tantra has taught me. How do you feel doing mundane things? It tells you so much about your attitude towards life. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Spiritual Bypassers podcast. I'm Jannick, and I'm here with Ashley and Tim. And in today's episode, I found it so exciting. Probably that was because I was dedicated as the main host of it, but we covered so many interesting topics that have no relation to each other whatsoever on the first sight. But maybe you can find it after you've listened to the whole episode. We talked about how Chat GPT can help you with dating, or help Ashley with setting up a nice Hinge profile and finding the right guys for her. We talked about how we can make rituals out of anything and how powerful that is, including going to the gym. So maybe your next gym session will be supercharged by applying these tips. Then we talked about the need for relaxation that is much more common than we might think and much more present in a lot of experiences in our everyday life, and how to get closer to that and why it's so meaningful. We talked about meeting God on spiritual, trippy experiences with psychedelics and how to translate that back to human needs. And lastly, there was a very, very scary synchronicity story that we all shared, and we felt the shivers. So let us know in the comments if you felt the shivers too at the end of this episode. And with that, I wish you a lot of fun with this episode. Enjoy.
Yeah, guys, welcome to this episode. We just found out that Jannick is Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
He is Tony. He has
the voice.
Chin, he has the smile.
In the
Look at
voice.
Wow, and the voice and the brain and the amazingness, all Tony Robbins.
I am Tony Robbins, and finally I found my destiny through you guys in this podcast. I couldn't be more grateful. I'll be on stage leading millions of people towards self-actualization.
That's totally something.
You have the gravelly voice already.
Yeah.
Wow.
You just need to smoke lots of cigarettes so it's a bit more gritty.
Yeah.
Tony Robbins is like sounds like a spiritual drunk sometimes, but I guess.
But how do I gain 30 pounds of muscle?
Don't be vegan.
Vegan steroids. Just eat loads of tofu.
Stop eating fruit bowls in the morning.
No, I'll actually be fasting from tomorrow on.
Oh, for how long?
Really? Oh, that's why you smile.
At least 3 days. So not that much, but it's my first time, so it'll be water fasting. And Ashley convinced me in one of our episodes way back in time.
Episode 1.
Episode 1.
The diehard fans.
Yeah, for the diehard fans. You want to do the same. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. It'll be my first time, and I think it'll be a spiritual experience. I combine it with very intense breathwork practice in the morning, and it's based on the 3-part breath. If anyone wants to do some research on it, and yeah, it's crazy. I'm in Sicily in a house with my girlfriend, alone. Other than that, we are just separate from everybody. There's a small town close by, but that's it. In the middle of nature, surrounded by mountains and fruit trees that we eat the fruits from every morning. So
is that a term? Oh, look, a fruit tree. Random fruits growing on one tree.
A fruit tree.
You're literally Adam and Eve.
We are Adam and Eve.
In the Garden of Eden right now. Watch out for the snakes. Don't tell her not to listen to them.
I saw a snake. I saw a snake last night.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but it was scared of me.
Yeah, because you're Tony Robbins.
Because I'm Tony Robbins.
All the way. You look cheeky today. You look like you're hiding something from us.
Yeah.
You have a giant cosmic joke in your brain, and it's about to get blown into the microphone. What's up there? Am I wrong? Am I right? Jannick, talk.
I'm just depressed trying to hide it.
That's pretty accurate.
How about the resonance there?
Just 90% of people who look mysterious are just massively depressed. He looks mysterious. No, he's just,
He has
his
something
flat
to hide.
image.
Yes, he does. His depression.
He's eating McDonald's. Snape ate McDonald's as well. He was severely depressed.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna have to distract from my depression and move on to the next point of the agenda, which is our little check-in. So, Ashley, what's up for you? You're back in Europe. That's
Yes. Well, for those of you who are just listening audibly, I'm a mess today. I have a cold. I returned from the wonderful tropics, and I'm very happy to be in cold Europe, but my immune system is like, girl, you're going to get the sniffles. So I'll be making that sound a lot during this call. I'm wearing a big fluffy hat and a big fluffy jumper, and I look like an idiot, but I'm cozy and warm. And I'm, maybe going to let the boys talk a bit more than I would let you this week. But I'm in Amsterdam. I'm now in my new place with my new roommate, where I will be for 6 months, and it feels very good. I have unpacked my suitcase and put it into storage for the first time in 2 years. And of course, I will still do little trips, but I just use a little suitcase for that and not my whole life coming with me. So I think I'm just adjusting to that, but it feels really, really good. And everything I need is nearby. The place I give sessions also has a sauna, also has a pool, also has a co-working cafe and yoga classes and hot people. So I'm happy. That's the Ashley checklist.
But you got a cold with all these hot people.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm practicing staying with myself anyway. I can just observe the hot people.
So
like us today.
I'm just looking,
Don't mind me, just looking. Yeah,
Righty.
but I will update you guys in a few weeks because I decided to download a dating app while I'm here in Amsterdam. So I'm sure there's going to be some very interesting conversations. And I actually used Chat GPT to make my profile.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. I want to hear about that actually.
Okay, I can do it very briefly. And I showed a few of my other girlfriends and they're like, this is really smart. I basically said to Chat GPT, I was like, hey, if I would want to attract this kind of man, like XYZ characteristics on Hinge, what sort of things should I be looking out for? And then it was like giving me some inputs. And then I was like, what red flags should I look out for? And it was like, probably don't swipe on these kinds of people. And I was like, what should I put in my profile? And then what can I say as conversation starters? Or like, how do I know if it's like, what to watch out for? And it's actually been super helpful in being very discerning and really nice, because now I'm like, I really have this criteria of like, anybody who's like, I don't know what I'm looking for, I'm like, nope, bye. It's like, I'm really putting it very obviously, like everything I'm seeking, the kind of person I am. And I was like, what kind of pictures should I use? It really gave me the full insight. So like, the future is here, guys. Like ChatGPT is now in our brains of how humans date. It's terrifying, but also kind of helpful.
That's pretty cool. And yeah, I feel like it's for a lot of people, it's so good to bring in some more rationality into their dating decisions. It's like, because we are so influenced by our emotions and by our childish parts when making these kind of like decisions in dating and who we text to and how attraction works. And if we want to find like healthy relationships, ChatGPT is probably like a really good partner in that, because it's highly rational, right?
It has no feelings.
Yeah.
I can tell you some of the red flags it told me to look out for. Maybe
red flags and conversation starters. That would be really interesting.
Yeah. Okay, let me just get to the... Was there something you were going to say, Tim? Okay, here. So, red flags I should avoid. Superficial or vague answers, like, I'm just here for fun, or ask me anything. They suggest a lack of emotional awareness and seriousness, and they may not be ready for a kind of relationship you're seeking. People who are overly cocky and arrogant, like, I'm the best at everything I do, or you have to earn my attention. Like, men literally put this on their bios. I've seen this the past days.
And it works. It works if you have daddy issues. Watch our episode about daddy issues.
Jannick is speaking from experience.
Too many flashy or party photos, like profile filled with shirtless gym selfies, cars, or partying, because it can indicate a focus on materialism or appearance and not align with depth or emotional awareness. People who are negative or cynical, like, why is everyone on here so fake, or I'm not here for games. This suggests emotional baggage or a negative attitude, which might lead to issues around communication and emotional availability. I was like, this is so helpful. Avoids mentioning relationships or emotional growth. So it says they're don't know what they're looking for, don't really talk about emotions in their profile. If they are inconsistent with their energy or have confusing expectations, I'm just here for fun. I'm not looking for anything serious. People who overemphasize traditional gender roles. I expect women to be traditional. I'm looking for a girl who will cook and clean for me. Like, again, a bit too harsh on that aspect.
Do people put that on their profile? I'm looking for a person or a girl who cleans and cooks for me.
Yeah, or like I'm no princesses I saw yesterday. Like I was like, what defines a princess? One guy was like, we split the bills, like just putting it out there straight away. It's like, this is so Holland, so Dutch.
Love that.
So yeah, I got loads, like, and then like conversation starters, like start with warmth and curiosity, be playful but meaningful, gauge his emotional intelligence early, look for chivalry in his actions, share your values, be direct about what you're looking for when it feels right, balance vulnerability with confidence, set clear boundaries around communication. Like, I literally sent this whole Chat GPT thing to one of my friends who was like, send me this, I need to know. So yeah, sorry to take over the intro, but I found this quite interesting.
Yeah, I love that. So no need to say sorry about that.
Can I just share what the prompt was I gave ChatGPT, because I think it's maybe helpful. So I was like, if any women want to do this,
help me get laid.
Get me laid on in the Netherlands on dating apps.
But this is like I was laughing with my friend because we were like, this stuff should be like the bare minimum basics, but it's actually has to be put out there. So I was like, if I wanted to attract a mature guy on Hinge who has a job, is emotionally aware, kind, empathetic, yet still masculine energy.
My standards are low. Just please.
Really?
Like the first thing you said, who has a job? no indication on past partners there. Who has a job?
Actually falling in love. He's even eating food. It's amazing.
He has a job. Come on.
He has a job even.
He's great. He's a great guy.
He's owning a laundrette. It's amazing.
No, you guys don't get it. There's so many people in Amsterdam who are like, I'm a DJ. I'm like, fuck off. Like, no, you're not the father of my future children. So yeah, that was basically, and I was like, they're emotionally aware, they're kind, empathetic, yet still masculine in their energy, and happy to take initiative. What are some tips for my profile to say or show that would resonate with guys like that? And that's how the conversation with ChatGPT went. But yes, my standards are very low. As if you have a job, you're in.
The casuality in which is, yeah, my standards are super low actually.
If you have a job and you're friendly, then bonus points.
All of the things I said are just bonus. You know, the one thing I need is a job.
I have to share.
Can you name 3 emotions?
Last Christmas when I went home, I told my sister, I was like, oh yeah, I bumped into my ex for the first time in like a year and a half. And when I saw him, I was like he's like very much changed. He was like wearing roll necks and like turtlenecks and wearing normal shoes and like he has a backpack and looks like, and I said this and my sister was like,
was he barefoot before? Or
no, just wearing trainers. Like he was wearing trainers and like sports clothes and stuff, and now he like was working in an IT company. And I said this and my sister was like, Ashley, that he's 32. This is the bare fucking minimum. Like that he's wearing a turtleneck. I was like, yeah, true.
He has shoes.
It's so complete that he's wearing a turtleneck. It's like the peak. I'm getting my shit together.
Yeah.
Piece of clothing. He's wearing a turtleneck.
He's basically Steve Jobs now.
So now you guys probably have a bit more understanding as to like why I am the way I am if that was my history.
I totally understand, you know.
Now I get you, Ashley. Finally,
Thank you guys. I feel
I
seen
see
now.
you. Thanks for
Thank
sharing.
you. Thank you, brothers.
Bravo.
Tim, you
So it's
look amazing. Your apartment looks amazing. What's going on? Like, tell us the secret.
Yeah, I moved to Berlin a few weeks ago already, and now I'm in a similar position as Ashley is. I'm in my new flat where I will be for the next 9 months. It's a beautiful, lofty apartment in Friedrichshain. We moved in here, I think, 2 days ago. And the cool thing about moving into a flat that is already furnished is that the move is just, you know, you pack the things you need and you just move in. There's so little hassle. And the flat is, you know, beautiful, just totally fits our taste. And same with Ashley, like it feels so luxurious to not travel for my nervous system. Like it's such a normal thing for most people, but I found out for myself that I think we also talked about this. The digital nomad lifestyle is just completely wrecking my nervous system and my psyche. So it feels good to have this little safe haven here. And I got into dream work, and I did a ritual this morning, and it's really, I can say this with excitement, with dignity, and with connection to myself, because it was like I learned about dream work that it's not just about interpreting the dream, but to actually bring the dream into physical form. And that's actually what a ritual is. It's taking something airy, transcendent, whatever, and it's manifesting that in the physical. And it has a profound impact on the psyche. So I had a dream about it was just one sentence. It was something like sexuality. I had a dream about a life where sexuality is paid in coins, like people had to pay for having sexual intercourse. That was just the norm in that dream. Really interesting. And I thought, okay, like I sat down and did my associations and thought about the dream, interpreted it, and I was like, okay, sexuality is life force energy, and I pay for my life force energy. Like it was connected to my work relationships and so on and so forth. Don't want to get into this too deep. But what I did today was taking the dream and the theme of, you know, coins, and I buried 2 coins next to a tree, and it was amazing. I really loved it. Like I buried the coins and was like, okay, I'm letting this topic go now, and this is the symbolic act of me burying these coins so that, you know, money will grow and it's given back to Mother Earth. And it was really profound. I had so many insights coming in after, and it really felt like a weight was dropped off my shoulders. And the more I get into the literature of dream work, the more I realize that rituals are super important for that. So that was great. So I'm doing a lot of work on myself currently, and a lot of, you know, analyzing dreams, meditating, doing a lot of somatic, cathartic work like on a daily basis. And it's really helpful. And I couldn't do this when I was traveling. Like I was just hadn't had that safety and that structure to follow through with all these things. And that's why I feel really grounded, settled, and focused. Like I feel like whatever being in the masculine means, I feel like I'm there. So that's really cool. Yeah, and I'm stoked to we had a 2-week break with the podcast, or a 1-week break. We didn't record last week. And I'm still looking at Jannick, and I'm still like, this guy, because it's Jannick's turn. Like each week we everyone, like we switch places, but this week is Jannick's turns to present something, to bring something in. And I feel like it's gonna be something. I don't know.
You like putting the expectations high up there. That's really mean, you know. Maybe we should talk about expectation management.
Oh wow, thanks, Dad. will stop expecting anything from Mr. Tony Robbins.
Yeah, don't expect anything from Tony Robbins. No, thank you for the check-in, and I love that point about rituals. I mean, I've shared my ritual, like one of the meaningful rituals in my life about
Yeah,
this
you're doing
like
a lot of them.
social
Also,
media.
like the fasting and stuff, it's one big symbolic act, and the MDMA stuff you do, it's also ritualistic. Yeah.
Exactly, and for integration as well. And in all these kind of like tribes and the way people used to live together, rituals were such a huge part of just daily routine of like living together. And in our society, it's kind of like become this spiritual thing that only a few weird people do. Like, what does it even, like, where does it even get me to do rituals? But then again, I think we talked about this in another episode, how everything can become a ritual, even when you're working out in the gym, right? And you can do it in a somatic way. No, I don't think we've shared this yet. I think this is so interesting. If you combine emotional work with daily tasks, sometimes just looking at the way I walk, I'm like, how do my feet touch the floor? Do I really touch the whole floor with my feet, with the back of my feet to the top of my feet? And like, I really step onto the ground and allow the floor to hold me? Or am I kind of like just using parts of my feet and like kind of trying to get away? And that way you can use everything. Or like, how do I grab the bar in the gym, right? Am I just holding it with my fingers, or am I really like grabbing and holding onto it with my whole hands and with my thumb and feeling like really stable? And how am I pulling myself up? Like, how do I feel doing that? So like to really all the daily things, to make them a ritual. And this is also something that Tantra has taught me, the mundane things. How do you feel doing mundane things? It tells you so much about your attitude towards life.
Yeah. I've read a quote that goes something like, the difference between habit and ritual is the awareness and the intention. Like a ritual is never a habit because it's having this numinous, spiritual intention with it. And you can make every habit a ritual. For example, you can open the window in the morning and you can just open it, and it's a habit because you want to let in fresh air. But you can make it a ritual if you intend to open the window and you let the new day in, and you cherish and honor the beginning of the day with that. So, and I really resonate with what you said about lifting, because I feel like lifting weights can be so symbolic and so healing. Like every exercise, I think we also talked about this, that with anger work, the gym is really is a really good tool, because if you're doing a chest press, for example, you're pushing something away, and if you feel the anger, and if you feel, or if you intend to push everything away that is no longer serving you, or whatever you come up with, then you even lift more, because the anger is charging the movement. And so also in that way, the habit of lifting weights can be turned into a profound ritual.
Yesterday, I hosted an anger release that had a Halloween theme to it. And we were doing embodiment that was like digging a grave, and then like there's zombies coming. So they were like, punch the zombies, and like kick them, and then, like smashing pumpkins, and like really getting the anger movement into the pushing, like Tim says. Like that's the whole essence, is like tension and release, but also pushing away something that's like boundary aspect. It was very, very fun.
Sounds so
you're out of breath already. We did this.
I am. I'm sick today.
Actually, that was
product placement of my oils. I was like, oh no, don't show the label.
that was actually one of the things I wanted to talk about. I'm gonna kind of do it now. It's this sense of control that comes with the anchor word, or comes with the pushing. And I feel like a lot of times we feel a lack of motivation in life, or we feel depressed, or we feel like nothing is really meaningful, because there's no sense of control. And in ultimate sense, there is no control, right? It's like we are ultimately like really, really vulnerable, and really the universe has us. How do you say that? I only know the German saying, but it's kind of like grabbing us by the nuts. It's like, it has us. It pussy. It controls us. Like
Donald Trump style.
An den Eiern. Du hast mich an den Eiern. That's the German saying.
Ah.
You don't know it?
I think he has me by the nuts. Isn't that the English? Grab me by the
balls. I'm gonna translate it. So it's like this feeling of combining both. On one hand, surrender, right? Like surrender to what happens in life, because if we feel like we need to control everything, we will get disappointed. We might be disappointed a lot. And at the same time, I feel like this sense of control, bringing people back into that is really powerful. And it's what happens a lot in emotional release sessions as well, that they afterwards, they're like, okay, I'm back. I can like do stuff in my life. I can control things. I can change things. And that's the feeling that comes from the anger work as well, and from coming from victim into creator mindset.
Yeah. I agree with that. And I think you can do.
Why were you smiling like that before you said that?
Because I could tell Ashley was trying to come up with something, and then was just making a face like, nice. No, it's like, okay, it's my turn to speak. Ashley's just needing an extra round. I'm saying this with love.
So good. I'm like half a human today, so
no, you're fully human. You're
40%.
40%.
That assumes that you're only human when you're really at your full capacity, which is obviously not the case.
I'm like 20% slime today.
Slime.
Well, I love that. That's one of my favorite German words. Like slime is mucus, or like phlegm, like phlegm in English.
Phlegm.
Phlegm.
Sounds like a word that shouldn't exist. Phlegm.
With a silent G.
Phlegm.
Okay, let's get back onto Jannick.
Yeah, what I wanted to say is that, I mean, these are opposite poles almost, control and surrender, and also two values. And what I learned, and also what I recently picked up again in shadow work, is that most psychic tension, mental tension, and also tension in the body that we experience is the tension between two values. And for example, if someone is overemphasizing control in their life, he will get really stiff, and he will get really, or she will get really, controlling in the worst sense. That's the lesson there is that no value in of itself is good. Control is not good if it's not counterbalanced by a healthy dose of surrender. And if you're only surrendering, then you're, I mean, how does a person look like that is only surrendering? It's possibly
like
someone
this.
that, yeah. I mean, it's
we've
collapsed.
had that. I used to live on Kopangan, and we used to have this term flow state. And everybody would just be in flow state. It's like, hey, see you tomorrow at the mantra singing. Yeah, let's see, flow state. And everybody, you can't rely on anything. You can't. It's just, it's so annoying, and it's like there's no kind of like sense of stability, control of building something, of knowing where you're heading. It drains.
Super annoying. I had that yesterday. Someone asked me for a phone call to ask some questions for their retreat. And I was like, they're like, yeah, like I prefer spontaneous. And I was like, yeah, like I need to know like a specific. They were like, okay, like Wednesday afternoon. They were like, yeah, what would 1 p.m.? I was like, perfect. Call me on this number. 1 p.m. No phone call. I messaged them. I'm like, hey, we have a phone call. No message. So I sent them a voice note at 2:30, like, hey, like you specifically asked me for this phone call. Like, I'm doing you a favor. You agreed to this time. Like for me personally, like this is just wasting my time. So yeah, you can send me a voice note with questions, but I'm not going to take a call with you. He's like, wait, what? We had a time scheduled. I'm like, literally look 3 lines up, bro. It's not that hard. And it's these spiritual, like we just go with the flow. I'm like, that's not how I roll. Like,
Yeah.
genders are
That's
not anti-spiritual.
Yeah, yeah, and that's where it gets interesting, because in listening to what you're saying, you can hear that the value of control, or another word would be reliability, is really important. And that's when you can start doing shadow work, because the fact that you're or no, I'm in the same boat. I don't like unreliable people and people who are just super flowy. The fact that we are devaluing their behavior and we're like shaking our heads and rolling our eyes towards them could mean that maybe we're projecting our need for a bit more surrender in our life onto them. So it's always a whatever you devalue in other people, when you're like, for example, if you had a conflict with one of the hippies from Bali, they would probably say, yeah, you're way too stiff, you're so German, and you, bro, just hang loose. And that would be their shadow. So you
That's
can
what
always,
Joaquin says.
yeah. And that's just a clash of values. And the point of this is to hold both values simultaneously. For example, empathy and assertiveness could also be a thing. If you're too empathetic, you're losing yourself. If you're too assertive, you will have no friends and probably be lonely. So you want to have both of them figured out and online.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And they also strengthen each other. So one thing that I wanted to bring in today is also, in my current relationship, we are constantly reflecting on the fact, like, how much structure do we want and how much flow do we want? And especially in a relationship, especially when you're freshly in love, there's a lot of things that you that you can enjoy everything together. You can just like just being together already gives you so much joy, right? And it's like so fulfilling. And so there's a tendency to always just go with the flow and do whatever you feel like in the moment. For example, having a lot of sex all the time and like ignoring other tasks. And then there's this other thing, like structure, and you still want to build. And I always feel like going with the flow uses resources, and structure creates kind of like resources and creates a frame in which then you can surrender. So structure, like thinking of it as structure is not the opposite of surrender, or planning is not the opposite of surrender. It's like it enables you to. Only when there is a strong frame, then you can surrender and you can allow yourself, oh, like we've taken care of the money, we've taken care of the dishes, we've taken care of the groceries. Now there is actually time to surrender and nothing bad will happen. But we don't take care of any of that and we just surrender. At some point, we'll be hungry and our house will be a mess and, we won't have any money left. Yeah. So it's really important in these moments. And this is also related to controlling your impulses, of course, depending on which ones you're drawn to. If you're like always over planning or you're always like under planning, to know that they support each other. The two opposites.
Yeah.
Totally. We'd have no content if Jannick didn't have a new relationship at the moment.
Yeah, that's true.
We'd have no content if Ashley didn't, because Ashley, no, fuck.
If Ashley wouldn't date.
Yeah.
And what about you, Tim?
Yeah.
If you wouldn't read all these things about shadow work, if you wouldn't
Tim didn't read books,
a week,
we'd have no content.
Exactly.
Come on.
Yeah. All this knowledge, Tim. Oh, I love your knowledge. Bring in the knowledge. Ashley bringing the dating stories. And me, it's like trips and my girlfriend. No, my challenges in the relationship.
We have to bring her on for a guest episode one time.
Brooks and my girlfriend.
We'll just replace. She comes in, you leave. We'll be like, okay, love.
Wait, we heard a lot about this relationship.
I would love that. I would love to have both of your girlfriends on a podcast episode, and both of you can bugger off. We do ladies' hour.
You can take your ex-boyfriend and
oh my god, yes,
just place them and be like, okay, have fun.
No, Tim and me will have like 3 of your exes on the podcast at the same time.
I don't know if they're all in like the same maybe
time zone. That could work.
Yeah, I mean, there's one here, but the other one's like married now. I don't think he'll go on podcast.
We will make him
come to the podcast and talk about your ex-relationship with Ashley.
He's married and his
Finally.
wife's expecting a baby, so I don't think he's going to come on the podcast. But I can find some
Well, he
situations.
doesn't want to. His problem. I don't care about him anyways.
He'll be like, Ashley Frost, that name rings a bell. I don't feel it there.
Exactly. Okay, next point. It's okay. So
Okay.
it's about a trip again. Okay, of course. Like every time I bring in like topics, it's my trip. Once upon a time. This is my preparation, guys. Next month I'll be doing ayahuasca. When this episode comes out, probably only a week to go. And last time I did it was
that's in a month
after Mallorca. Yeah.
Wow. There will be five episodes just that. I'm looking forward to it.
Exactly. But probably we promised some analysis of my mushroom trip, of my MDMA trip in the last episodes, and we still haven't done it. And we definitely have to remember those things. But right now it's not present for me. It's this ayahuasca trip, and it was right after the Turkey emotional release training. So I like a lot. I tend to do that. I want an analysis about that as well. Like, why do I always overload my nervous system with trips and relationships and emotional release sessions? And like, I need to be on the move, like on the grow, like always growing. You know, it's a bit like that one time when we talked about Ashley's dreams as well. I remember that. Yeah, probably I'm closer to ADHD than I would like to admit. You know, I remember this one episode where Tim said we all have ADHD, and I'm like, I don't. Nine. Not me.
I'm in control of my life.
And I want to bring this in because the name of our podcast is Spiritual Bypassers, right? And so I think we should talk more about spiritual bypassing. And what happened there was I met God. Okay, great. I met God. It was there, this being, and I was like, can you please show me how does this work? Like, how is reality created? And it's like, no problem, here you go. And then it shows me the process of like all these sensations that are created in this moment into existence, and then they make up this whole personality structure, and then they make up they're based on the belief that I'm a person, a human, and in this universe, and blah blah. Like it, like basically from ground zero, built up all the beliefs and the sensations and the connections between them and all of them, and I saw all of that like being built. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. I met God. That's it. I got it. And then 1 week later in the integration, I was talking to one of the women who was facilitating, very experienced with ayahuasca, done a lot of sessions. And she asked me this question. She says, which human need was fulfilled in that moment? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Human needs. This is not about human needs. This is meeting God. This is beyond humanity, beyond. And then, okay, after that, I was like, okay, maybe I should take her more seriously and be like actually asking myself, what was there any need, even if this feels weird? And then I realized, it sounds really weird, but the need for relaxation was fulfilled in that moment, because finally I could, like, the need to know was let go of, was kind of fulfilled. And so it was like, now I can allow myself to relax, because now I know everything. Now I know how the world works. And I'm so interested in what this brings up in you guys, this like story. And if you have any experiences with this, like meeting God or having very spiritual experiences, but then translating them back into the human experience again.
I had an experience in the last 2 months
10 minutes.
Where I had my first cervical orgasm. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's a very fun experience for a woman to have. The different type of orgasm than an external one and than a vaginal one. It's like the end boss of orgasms. It's very so I had taken drugs. I took acid a little bit, so I'm on Yannick's side now of getting insights through taking some microdoses. I had this after it happened, it was like a huge buildup, and then it was such a big eruption that it felt like I literally like screamed, like the person also like jumped, they were like quite shocked, and I had this like instant visual of like almost like a portal opening, and I could see like really the shadows of like a big crowd, like lots of people, like heads, like as if you're looking over, and they were all blue, and it was like a blue planet. And there was a part of me that then because also I think there's a lot of like hormones that come out after an orgasm, I was crying, and it was like a combination of like recognition of home and the nostalgia of not being there, and this like simultaneous like grief but love of like really feeling like this source point. It was very interesting, like because it felt like almost looking at like a heaven or something like this. And yeah, it was like really I guess the human need in that moment was also just like that sense of belonging, like the sense of even though I'm not there, I have somewhere that feels like home, and I'm not there physically, but I can still feel the love and connection of that aspect as well. So I've actually met God most times through orgasm very deeply. One time also really like an orgasm went so deep that it was like a tunnel was going like inwards and like to my belly button, and it was like at the end of that tunnel I literally met God.
Wow.
It was so wild.
How did that look like or feel like?
Like it very calm. It's like, and it was really so visual, and I was like really, really deep, like you would be in an emotional release session. I was thankfully with a partner that could also like let that unfold. Like he wasn't worried that I had my eyes closed and I was like very away. And yeah, it just felt like again this feeling of like homecoming, of just like arrival. And I like, if I could draw it, it literally looked like a little cave system that like you're getting deeper and deeper, and it's getting smaller and smaller, and just somewhere is like the little root. It was so cool. I don't know what the human need for that aspect was. I think it's again this belonging is the word.
Yeah, belonging, relaxation might be a part of it as well.
I mean, we're always, as humans, aren't we always like seeking the ultimate relaxation, like sleep, death? It's always the things that like at some point we're always like, oh yeah, let's
Orgasm
just
as
leave
well.
that a little bit.
Yeah.
The sweetest moments of relaxation that I ever encountered were during Kambo ceremonies, in between the rounds, where like you've gone through this intensity and this like pain or struggle, and then you're dip and your body is like, oh. That's also like how women feel when they have cramps with their period. Like you really, there's like so much movement, like these two like plates of the earth coming together in your womb, and you can resist it and fight it. And that's where emotional release has actually helped a lot of myself, but also a lot of my friends with period cramps, because you're resisting the experience. You're like, I don't want to feel this. I don't want to feel this. This hurts. It hurts. And same as in birth, when you can like breathe and just go with that sensation, that's when also these like waves of pleasure come when the cramp does subside, and then your body is like, oh yes. I guess it would be the same as like for you guys doing a big workout, and the moment you finish then like comes the closest I can get to
so
the
wow, I
male
find
version.
this so inspiring. Exactly. Or the masculine orgasm is explained like that as well. It's like tension, 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 and just, release in this moment of relaxation. Or a big task, a big goal, you achieve it, and just the relaxation right afterwards. And then you notice yourself already setting the next goal, or being unsatisfied with something new until it's satisfied, and then and this constant, these little things. Or you need to pee. And then finally you can go to the bathroom. It's like, these are the best things in the world.
This is like somewhere on another planet. There's like a podcast of aliens who are like, yeah, man, have you heard of this human race? They're on planet 659 in this quarter galaxy, and their whole purpose is around tension and release.
And they suffer so much on the way.
And they're like, then they're so dumb. I'd like to think that there is many different versions of us in different galaxies. Like some we have purple skin and we're aliens, and some we're underwater and like talking in bubbles, and have various different forms of these screens going on. Maybe we can get AI to make some different images of it. Would be funny.
I actually did that, and I was just awestruck when you shared, because I want to also share two transpersonal experiences that I had, and one was actually also involved blue-skinned alien people, a bit like an avatar. And I don't think if that's like an archetypal thing people also see on trips, but it was when my girlfriend was like doing some energy work on me. I don't want to get into it, but there was a moment where we both felt like our brain had shut off for like a brief second and then turned back on. We were both freaking out at the same time. And then she said, "Oh, I was just somewhere else completely." And she saw me as a also like blue-skinned healer in a parallel universe. I'm super skeptic with these things, and I'm like, obviously the symbolism is interesting to me, but in that moment I was like, that was a proper transpersonal moment, like a transcendent, whatever that was, because it was so out of the ordinary. It was so sacred, and it also involved blue-skinned people. And it's so interesting that you share about that, and maybe Jannick, as a seasoned psychonaut, can share if that's a theme actually. But yes, very similar thing happened.
Tim, we're both also a Pisces moon in our astrology, which is the water.
Talking about moon, it's full moon today, by the way. So if your energies feel a bit off, that must be the reason.
That's definitely the reason.
And was there a question in that, Tim? Because it's
if you know if these blue people are something regular in psychedelic work that people see.
It's so interesting that we talk about this now, because 2 days ago, literally, I did some eye gazing with my girlfriend after philosophizing about God or whatever, and we got into this other state of consciousness, and I saw her as like a blue avatar version of herself, and that was so crazy. That I've never had it like that before, and we asked ourselves the exact same question. We asked ourselves, is this a common theme? And are the avatars kind of like based on people tripping, seeing this, and then creating this movie or creating these avatars? And I can definitely see that, because I've heard it a lot. I've heard it from people that they saw, and you could say, yeah, but it's because they saw the movie. But then why does it apply to so many people? It's probably the other way around. It's probably the characters were created based on visions that people have during psychedelic experiences. And psychedelic doesn't mean only psychedelic substances. It can be during eye gazing, during breath work, during anything like deep meditation, anything that brings you into altered state of consciousness. You guys look like you're doing the research as we're talking.
I actually did, yeah. So there's blue-skinned gods in Hinduism and Eastern traditions.
Yeah.
Krishna and Shiva are often depicted with having blue skin, and
Smurfs.
Smurfs.
The Smurfs.
The great gods of the Western world. And I mean, blue is like an oceanic color that is like tranquility, divinity, and so but I need to get deeper into the rabbit hole. But that's really like I had literal chills when you were sharing, because that was bordering on like a synchronistic experience to have this sharing just now.
Yeah. And this whole evening 2 days ago, I'm still processing it. I haven't talked to anyone else about it. It was mind-blowing. It was so like, we felt like we were tripping. We were literally asking ourselves, did we forget that we took psychedelics, or like, what's happening here? Because we both felt so trippy. And we have this number that connects the two of us, the number 22, And I have a tattoo of that number in Sanskrit style here on my, and it's my birthday on the 22nd, it's her birthday on the 22nd, and blah, blah. There's a lot of like things going on there. And then we were both looking probably for 20 minutes into each other's eyes. And at one point, she just like turns her head and looks at the clock, and it's 22:22 on the clock. And the clock was behind, like next to us and behind her a little bit. So none of us could see the clock. And like she said, she felt like something moved her head. And and a lot of other things happened. We planned our retreat the last days, and we're going to offer a psychedelic retreat in the Netherlands on November 29, and we call it Realize. And then we talked about different ways of like meanings of that word realize, and we came up with real eyes. Yeah, real eyes, realize. And
I heard that before.
yeah, okay, you heard about
realize.
I didn't. I thought I just came up with it. Maybe I saw it somewhere in my subconscious knew or whatever, but I thought I came up with it. And then later on we were at home, and then her mom sent us a message saying, "Oh yeah, this is another thing that I came up with." And she literally sends us like real eyes, realize, real lies.
Yeah.
And we were like mind blown because we thought we came up with that, and later on her mom sent us a screenshot of that, and there were more. Okay, I'm gonna share one more thing. I was sitting on the toilet shitting, no episode without talking about shitting. And then I was like, okay, this is so weird. Like, why am I feeling so trippy? I didn't do it.
So strange.
No, so yeah, it was really trippy. It was after all that happened.
You were cleansing your biggest pore.
Yeah, I was.
Okay, go on.
And I'm like, okay, I need to ground. I need to go like to do like normal human stuff. I'm gonna open Instagram, go through my messages. It's gonna be regular messages, blah blah. Then
Instagram to ground yourself. Perfect.
No, like do like random weird like normal human stuff while I'm on the toilet. Okay, so like things I might usually do, so that I go back to my human mundane experience and not feel so godly and synchronicities everywhere. All right, so I'm like, hopefully there will not be like any special weird messages now. Okay, I go to Instagram. Okay, my dad broke up with my mom 24 years ago. And right after that, he had a girlfriend for half a year. And her name, she's from the Czech Republic. Her name is Barbora. And she was the thing in the family because like I was very young. I hated all the new girlfriends of my dad. I was like really defensive about it. My brothers as well. We didn't like her. Okay. That was the only time I was in contact with her ever. I never heard of her before. Ever after. And then this woman sent me a message on Instagram saying she dreamed about my dad last night, and now she did some research on Instagram, and she found through the last name, she found my account, and she just wanted to reach out and see if, whatever, tell my dad that he appeared in her dreams. And then I was like, what the fuck is this? This is so weird.
Many people have been dreaming about their exes the past days.
Mm-hmm.
I also dreamt of like some exes. I was like, what the fuck? Where is this coming from? There's weird shit going on, Jannick.
There is weird shit.
Did you put her in touch with your dad?
Not yet, but I will. I'm still like processing the event from 2 days ago.
You're like pooping. You're like, fucking Barbora.
Barbora again. I hate her, man. You are not my mother. You are not my mother. Stop texting me. You are not my mother. Like all of a sudden, this 7-year-old takes over again in the chat.
Barbora also sounds like the end boss in like an RPG game.
Yeah.
Barbora. And you're fighting the end boss.
Barbara.
It's a Barbara version.
Barbora.
That was I got the do you know it's a similar feeling to that I have right now when you listen to a ghost or like a scary story as a kid. It's like, oh, It
The
could
collie wobbles.
the holy bubbles.
Collie wobbles.
Ashley has gone insane.
Okay.
Yeah,
Officially.
she's out.
I've gone
Yeah.
full British, sorry.
What is the collie wobbles?
Let me find the exact definition for you.
And
wow.
yeah, that was exactly the feeling we had that night. We're like,
Yeah.
Tense
we are alone.
anxiety or nervousness is the collie wobbles.
Uh-huh. Tense anxiety. Yeah, I'm not sure if that resonates. It's more like this, oh my God, something scary is going on. And it's also meeting this feeling of going insane. Yeah, because in the end, you can always just call that like some coincidences and it's like all a bit weird, but it happens. And if you talk about this with like rational people, they will just be like, are you insane or something? Like, why do you think of it as something being so weird? Yeah, it's a bit off, but can happen. It's not that far-fetched. And with that sentence, you can basically justify anything that happens, right? Even if there's like six really weird coincidences happening. Yeah, it's really boring life, but you can if you want. And it's and then you see all these things, and then you're like, okay, something is going on here. But there's this other part that tells you you're going insane, like when you overinterpret these things. But now it's even like the feeling intensified because you talked about the avatar stuff as well.
Yeah. Well, one moment of silence for our sanity. I also think it's a feeling of awe. Like it's something greater that we don't understand is like, at least in our experience, doesn't mean like there's no explanation for that, but there's this loss of control and this feeling of fuck. And also because it's you can't touch it. It's almost like the thing is everywhere, like God is everywhere or whatever is working. And yeah.
Exactly.
That was a fascinating detour about the Blue Man Group.
I love it. I sort of sent you a whole directory of blue people.
You sent us a directory of blue people. I see it now.
In the chat.
Directory of blue people.
It's literally the wellofsouls.com.
It seems to be a thing.
I wanted to maybe to get back on the more, like, slowly get back on the train of sanity. I had it's not too sane, but it's a bit more sane than speaking of blue people and getting heads turned around to see angel numbers. I had also a bit of a transpersonal experience at my birthday. I think I already shared about this, but it's also tying into what Ashley said. Of seeing a portal. Like I had this whole beautiful ceremony set up by my girlfriend on my birthday, and at one point I had to fall into the hands of my friends and family. Really beautiful. And as I was lying there, I had the vision of angels showing me a gate in heaven, and they opened the gate, and I was like, oh, this is so beautiful, so amazing. What are they going to show me? They opened the door and I went through it, and behind the door was just suffering. I felt so shitty after they opened this gate. And this is sort of linking into the theme that we touched upon earlier, is that depth or true insight or God is met through suffering. Like even in the heaven, there's a gate that leads to suffering. Like, why is that? Why would God, or why would our subconscious create the symbol of heaven, which is like complete freedom and bliss, and place a gate there that leads into suffering? It's like makes no sense. But then again, it's like it makes total sense, because through there wouldn't be any insight if we wouldn't solve problems, if we wouldn't go to the depths of our psyche, into the depth of our lives, and encounter what is blocking us from going into heaven and to create heaven on earth. And that can only be attained through solving problems, aka through enduring the tension of opposites and the suffering we encounter in life. Like that's that's to me, every big insight, every great thing that I accomplished in my life was through a certain degree of suffering. And I can already hear like the new agey manifest whatever people in my head saying, but it can also be achieved through just bliss and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I also had this with blissful experiences, but I'm more and more convinced that you have to go into the shadow and into the suffering to grow. Like there's no way out of suffering human experience if you want to grow.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I want to add to that, which is, it's funny because this was the conversation me and my girlfriend had before doing the eye gazing, is about this feeling of there's oneness, there's infinite power, just this, there's nothing, there's just nothingness, which means no limitations, which means infinite power. What does it create? What happens if you have nothing? There's no universe, there's no nothing, there's just infinite power. What happens? And you could kind of come to the realization that this exact thing that's happening here right now is the consequence of infinite power, because infinite power, want to imagine that there is separation, that I am not connected to my infinite power, and then I want to rediscover my infinite power. The process of coming together again, of becoming whole, which we call healing in emotional release as well, is the very process that happens when infinite power plays out or imagines or dreams up anything it wants to, anything it can. And this coming together is the process of insight, is the process of integrating your shadow, is the process of making the unconscious conscious, is the process of expressing something that hasn't been expressed before. So this very process, and I call it also, it's the process of love, but falling in love more and more and more and more deeply with yourself or with life. It comes together again. The coming together is the process of love, and the state of this infinite love is the result. And it even matches with what we've been talking about with relaxation. It's that moment. It's what happens in that moment of relaxation. Is the tension is released, the opposites come together for a moment, and it's like, there is nothing to achieve anymore. There is now, I can relax. Now it comes together.
Tony Robbins, ladies and gentlemen. With that, it's been a spiritually charged transpersonal episode with Tony Robbins as a guest, and Sniffy
Frost,
Sniffy McBeans, aka Ashley Frost, and yours truly, Tim. So we're coming to the end of this episode. We hope you had just as much fun. I would be interested if this feeling of scary, whatever Ashley called, like this feeling of awe that we touched upon, and this wobbles experience, and if the charge of the conversation that we felt here also transmitted to the listeners. So let us know on Instagram or wherever you're listening to, on YouTube. Drop a comment. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. We really love doing this, and we really love that people are actually listening to us talking. And
you can drop Jannick a DM and he'll answer it when he's pooping.
Exactly. Please send something normal.
After he had 20 minutes of gazing. He always does that. Yeah. So thank you for listening. Have a great day. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Signing off. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.